I'm Shelby Vansickle.
And today we are presenting a topic on does DNA profiling help convict more criminals? To help gather an opinion on the topic, we will present you with some background information. And a very good thing to know about if you want to make an opinion is exactly what is DNA. DNA is made up of building blocks of nucleotides. It contains a phosphate group, a sugar group, and a nitrogen base. DNA also contains genetic instructions for an organism. DNA is located in the nucleus of a cell and helps provide your genetic traits and pretty much everything that makes you you and organisms what they are. The structure of DNA is a double helix. As you can see here, it's kind of in a ladder form. And it has bases A, G, T, and C. The A pairs with T bases and C pairs with G bases, again, as you can see in the diagram. There are a majority of parts of DNA that actually have no known function. They are kind of just blank space and do not contain any really special genetic material or really mean anything to DNA.
So then comes the question of what is DNA profiling exactly? So according to the University of Leicester, DNA profiling was invented in 1986 by two people, Kary Mullis and Alec Jeffreys. The first evidence of a DNA profiling case was in a small village in the UK. What happened was they took semen stain samples and they linked two different cases together. So in order to do DNA profiling, there's different steps that you have to go to. So the investigators first have to extract the DNA from the case. And then they have to quantify the DNA, which means that they take the amount of DNA and see how much they have and how much they can use from the crime scene. And then they amplify the DNA, which means they strengthen it in order to interpret the DNA and find out what they can use. And this is from the National Center of Victims in Crime.
The future of DNA profiling. DNA profiling has already helped convict many criminals and send them to jail, and it helps determine biological parents. So if DNA profiling has already helped do this much, you can only imagine in the future how much more it will be able to help with advances in technology. Early profiling included a technique that would result in probes binding DNA fragments to give rise to a pattern used by forensic DNA analysis, cited from the University of Leicester. Today, DNA profiling uses short tandem repeats. These are regions of non-coding DNA, that contain the same nucleotide sequence as cited from Biotechnology Learning Hub. And basically what this means is that it uses the unknown fragments of DNA for DNA profiling.
DNA profiling can be used in many different kinds of cases. The most evident cases that they're used in are things like sexual assault in both child and adult cases, and also sexual abuse and homicides. But anytime DNA is evident at the crime scene, it can be used. So if there's like a burglary, drug offenses, stalking, or abductions, anytime they see any evidence of the DNA, it can be used against the criminals or for the criminals. And this is also found from the National Center of Victims in Crime.
So my argument is against DNA profiling. And some of the points I have are as follows. DNA profiling can often be altered to make somebody look guilty when in reality they really aren't. This could possibly lead to unfair charges. So people could potentially take DNA from a crime scene and alter it to almost make it match DNA of a different person. My second point is that information from DNA profiling, once it has been officially conducted, it is with the government forever. This can get to many different parts of people's lives, including insurance companies. So therefore, insurance companies can deny insurance to a person because they could find that a person has a genetic disease that was found from DNA profiling. Another point I have is that DNA profiling can only be used in a case where DNA is left behind. So not every single crime case could have DNA left behind, and you cannot even use this method. People with a genetic disorder may not be allowed to check into a hospital and could be denied health care due to a disorder discovered from genetic testing. So this kind of goes back and relates to insurance company issues, but this almost is a little more serious, that somebody could be denied actual health care when they really genuinely need it because of a genetic mutation or a genetic disorder that was found from DNA testing. DNA profiling is not always accurate. It can contain contaminated samples of DNA, which will throw off the whole entire test and leave you with non-conclusive data. And also, DNA profiling can pick up the useless DNA, which I have mentioned before.
My argument is that DNA profiling does convict more criminals. So like Hannah was talking about, there is a certain database that the government uses to keep the DNA profiling, which means that it stays there forever. So only certain people can view this database, which means that the odds of it being contaminated, altered, or ruined are slim. So if the investigators still need the DNA, there's not really a chance that it's going to get ruined unless somehow someone gets into there, which the odds are it's not really going to happen. Like I was talking about earlier, there are a variety of different cases it can be used in, so it's not like only a few cases there's DNA at. So it's very possible that DNA profiling can be used in all different kinds of cases. And not only are there a lot of different kinds of cases, but there are a lot of different ways that the DNA can be extracted from the crime scene. So if anything like mucus or hair, blood, urine, anything like that is at the crime scene or evident on like an object from the crime scene, it can be used against or for the criminal. The DNA can also not be degenerated. This means that if it were to be exposed to certain bacteria or chemicals, the DNA would still be prevalent in the case. DNA profiling can also help match different suspects. So if the DNA is taken from a crime scene and there are many different suspects, which usually happens in a crime scene, then the investigators can compare all of the different DNA they have and see if there are any matches. And this helps either eliminate suspects or keep suspects in the case. It can also help find repeat criminals. Like we were talking about earlier, again, the database stays there forever. So if there aren't very many suspects in a case, but they have DNA, they can go back and look at that database and see if the DNA can match to any criminals that have been caught before. This is also physical proof that someone was either at the crime scene before, during, or after the time of the crime. And the same DNA can help link different cases together. Say it links two different persons' DNAs together, like they were both there at the same time, or it links the same person's DNA case, like the cases were similar, and they can find out if the person did both of those cases. So in conclusion, I believe that DNA profiling does help convict more criminals because it is a very reliable and effective way, and like I mentioned earlier, it shows physical proof that someone was there.
And I am against DNA profiling because I believe that often it could be used against somebody, or it can come back to eventually bite them in the butt with future health problems or other things that may occur later on in their life. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you.